Greetings, guys. Welcome to a brand new episode of Redemption of the Rotten. I'm your host, MrYazMan300, and joining me back once again is Kai. How you doing, Kai?
Hi, I'm fine.
Yeah,
Hopefully, after this movie.
yeah. It's been a very long time since we talked. I think our last movie what we talked was it Street Fighter?
It was Street
Yeah.
Fighter. I think I just came out of COVID
Oh, that's.
for
I
that. It
remember
was
it's after the
yeah,
COVID.
yeah.
Yeah. So how are you doing
So
now?
better,
Yeah,
definitely
glad to
better.
hear.
For Street Fighter, I was a little bit on the back
Yeah.
end of it, and I was at that point already like proven where you don't really have like that much virus load anymore. And fortunately, I didn't really get
Yeah.
some like long term stuff, but yeah, that thing
Yeah.
was heavy. And afterwards, I was on the road again 2 times, and I was seeing Star Wars,
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi,
I
with an
saw. I read your
orchestra.
comment on YouTube.
And it was magnificent. Let's say it like that. If you are so imagine you're having this entire movie just like without any like soundtrack. You're just hearing the speech and the sound effects and stuff like that, and the music is live played,
Yeah.
which is a novel concept if you're going back to the original like showings for movies like in the
Mm.
1920s,
Yeah.
where you had like silent movies and
Do you know what if I
like.
what movie I would do if they did something like this?
Mhm.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Oh,
That'll be a good one. Or
if you would have really like someone like getting into this Ennio Morricone's thing, I think that would be amazing.
the any of
Um,
his spaghetti western, like for a fistful of dollars, for a few dollars, or the Good, Bad, but mostly the Good, Bad, and the Ugly. Because I know it's gonna be very long because the movie, if I understand, is about 3 hours long. Yeah.
mm, yeah, then you would have. I mean, you would have to have breaks in
Yeah.
between, like for the orchestra and stuff like that. I mean, we also had a break for Return of the Jedi. Um, I mean, if you have like this entire cast of instruments, then and players, of course, then you would have to have some kind of break in
Yeah.
between, because for a 2.5 hour movie, it's a little bit too long.
Yeah.
Um, what I was like a couple of years ago, there was one thing. I mean, one of the movies from the 1920s where they had um intensively like redoing of the soundtrack, because you would have some kind of pianist playing the original stuff, and every couple of years or every decade or so, you would have some artists coming in and doing their interpretation of it. um One of those things that I was watching a couple of years ago was Battleship Potemkin, um, because I'm also a big fan of the Pet Shop Boys, and they did an entire soundtrack for this movie. And Battleship Potemkin is this movie, or this Russian movie
I was gonna
about.
ask you what's this movie because it's the first time I hear of it. But go ahead.
It's a movie from, I think, 1924 or 1920s sometimes, and it was basically about like some kind of civil war that was happening in Russia.
Mm.
So currently very very timely actually. They
Yeah.
they also had this very very like known scene from cinema history as well, the Odessa step sequence, where you have like a large staircase outside in Odessa, and the
Is this the
story
one where the
goes that.
baby creature that falls on the stair?
Yes, exactly,
Because I remember,
exactly.
was it the Untouchables? The copy and paste that
Yeah, yeah.
scene.
I mean, you also have like how's it called? This Leslie Nielsen thing, Naked Gun.
Yes, I remember the
They
third
also
one.
they also made fun of this scene there as well, and it's basically, if I remember correctly, about the transition, or basically a Russian Revolution of 1917, and where lots of stuff was happening, and then some faction was trying to bombard like the civilians in Odessa. Again, timely,
Yeah.
and very, very sad.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a very powerful scene, and to hear it with a contemporary music, it's
Yeah.
quite overwhelming.
I might check it after the podcast, see the movie, see where I can see it or places.
Yeah, and if you think about some movie that doesn't really need to change a soundtrack, it's Masters of the Universe, actually.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there's nothing to be changed about this film.
I mean, there are some things that you could change there, but when I was seeing like the opening crawl of the movie and seeing the soundtrack done by Bill Conti, was it Bill Conti?
Is this the guy who?
It was Bill.
Is this the guy who?
It's Bill Conti,
Did he do
the Rocky guy,
Did that? Oh, that's right, the Rocky guy.
the guy who did Rocky.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, wow, that's a deep dive from Rocky to Masters of the Universe.
Sometimes you watch it. I mean, what's it? I spoke it. It was what was it called? Henry Mancini, the guy who did like the Pink Panther. He did that for his last movies. He did the Bill Cosby movie Ghost Dad and the animated Tom and Jerry film, the one where they start speaking. He did this music for this film before he died.
Yeah.
Sometimes you watch, okay, how the hell is this? And then you got Sean Connery. His last film was that animated movie. I don't know if you saw it, Sir Billy. Do you remember it?
No, unfortunately.
It's not. All people think is League of Legends. So is his last movie. No, that's his last action. His last acting role was Sir Billy.
Okay, I was thinking more like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but yeah, I think there must have been something slightly later.
Yeah, this is a movie like I want to get everyone to see it. You know, we should have gotten. I know he said no, but we should have gotten him for this movie. Andy.
Oh man!
Well, I saw your tweets when because a lot of people don't know. The movie is not available for stream in Germany. You had to buy, the Blu-ray, right?
I bought the fucking Blu-ray just for this one.
Was it worth it?
Yes, it's definitely worth it for my library at home, but it's definitely not for like any like big movie library, in a sense, like the best movies ever.
Yeah,
it's a schlock. That's to say. It's no Street Fighter. Let's say it like that.
I'll tell you something before we begin. Street Fighter, I would rather watch Street Fighter over this one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because at least there was some good part in Street Fighter.
Way better movie than there is strong things like as we said in the podcast back in the day, Raul Julia's acting performance in this one is basically lifting everything up, and here it's, I don't know what's happening here. I mean, you would have Frank Langella,
award-winning thespian actor Frank Langella, to keep in mind,
hamming it up to some extent, where the mask that he's wearing, I was thinking like he's the brother of Death from Bill and Ted. Honestly, I was thinking like that was one of the
makeup in the film is one of the worst makeup I've seen in the 80s.
Yeah, the thing is, if you're looking just like the prosthetics that he's wearing, the mask that he's wearing, you could get a more deliberate mask if you would go. I mean, today speaking, actually, if you're going to a Halloween store and buy a death mask or something like that, it is looking more convincing than what he's wearing.
Yeah.
I I heard things. I was watching the Canon documentary, Electric Boogaloo
Mm.
2, or Electric Boogaloo on this one,
Yep.
and they were saying like they even had a more elaborate idea for him to do a visual CG, or not CG, but visual effects
Canon, there's no way
based.
they can't do it with who's producing the
Yeah,
film.
and Canon is not really known for good special effects at that
I mean, if
point.
you saw, it
Or
depends also on the
in
team
a,
and what they spent. Because, did you saw Life Force?
no,
Because they had a great team with special effects and stuff. Because they knew it depends also the people who's doing it. Because Life Force, at least they had people like who knew how to handle. This one sounds like they had no one.
yeah, I think they also said like they initially had something, they wanted to try it out, but they didn't get it working
Yeah,
for the purpose
yeah,
of the shoot of the movie. And so eventually they went back to this something mask
yeah.
that you would get and apply to his face. And again, Skeletor looks exactly like Death from Bill and Ted, and
His rejected
even more
cousin.
so,
More.
yeah, more like a reject. I was thinking like they could put any actor in this kind of mask there, and why you have to put a, was it Academy winning at that point, or
Award winning, because I think he's a thespian actor. He
what?
did theater and stuff. This is, I think, his first
Yeah.
like big hall major studio. I think he was appearing in movies, but just like his first major, like I think big budget Hollywood film. If you consider this film to be big budget.
not not very much
Yeah.
by that point of view, but I mean it's the first big budget movie for some of the actors, but I mean if you're having a look at like Courtney Cox, for example, and again I have to say it, Robert Duncan McNeil. I have to explain what I'm wearing right now. I'm
That's okay.
wearing a T-shirt about the Adventures of Captain Proton. And for those of you who watched Star Trek Voyager, where they had Robert Duncan McNeil play the role of Tom Paris, Captain Proton was basically one of those holodeck game simulations that he was designing back in the day, and he was playing the role of Captain Proton. And I think to some extent they also kind of mocking his role in Masters of the Universe in there, because it's very Flash Gordon-y, and I would have to say that Flash Gordon at that point was also one of the big inspirations for this movie as well. Or what do you think? What could have been like the inspirations for this movie?
I feel like because Flash Gordon knew exactly what the tone that they were doing. That's like they don't take it very seriously. This one, I think they took it very seriously. I think that's why. Because they knew exactly what they were doing. It's like we're not gonna take it seriously. It's like we gotta have fun. This one's like now we'll take it very serious. That's what I feel with Flash Gordon.
I think they at some point they kind of it's really like not really coherent throughout the movie. Sometimes their laugh it's quite funny. Sometimes it's very straight in your face. What you are saying.
Most of the stuff, the funny parts are intentional.
Yeah, that as well.
Yeah.
But I think when
Basically,
I
they
was
knew the
when I
tone.
was
What I'm saying is, Flash Gordon, they knew exactly the tone that they were going. This one's like, it feels like it mixed up everything. And they even
yeah
admitted they shot it on Earth because to keep the budget low.
I I think when I was live tweeting this week, I had a one tweet where Andy was asking me, for example, what I was thinking about the movie, and I was saying like it's a combination of Flash Gordon, Star Wars,
Yeah,
Back
but
to the Future,
I mean, that's
and
one
the
of the actors.
Terminator. Not only that, I mean, if you're looking at Star Wars, some of those guys or troopers that Skeletor has look like rip-offs from the
Even
Stormtroopers,
himself,
just in
his
black.
costume, everything, because it feels like the Darth Vader costume.
Yeah, he's looking more like the Emperor in some respect.
Yeah, because I'm
But
talking about because his arm is the voice, but you're right, the Emperor, part Emperor maybe.
yeah, yeah. Then to some extent, it has feelings of Back to the Future. If you're having like the idea of this prom night that they are going to prepare and where they wanted
Which I
to have
forgot that they only
something
mentioned
like.
it once and then they let it go. The prom.
I mean, they burned everything down in the beginning when they were
Yeah.
entering like Earth, and to some extent also the Terminator, because I think the Courtney Cox character kind of reminded me of Sarah Connor in some respect.
I didn't say. I don't think.
When
I might have to disagree with you because she wasn't like the strong character, but like Sarah Connor.
no, she's far from being the like hardcore character that I mean. Even in the 1984 movie, Sarah Connor wasn't really like she. That's basically like the transition for a character where she's starting as a waitress. That's
Oh, that's
yeah.
right. This one I can see it
Somehow,
like the waitress. Now I remember because I forgot that the
and
Terminator
then
to her she was a waitress and this happened.
exactly, and she's having a birthday party, and she's going to a disco and something like that, and then eventually all hell breaks loose, and she has to become this woman that she eventually has to become. So it's a coming of age story more or less, and I kind of thought that they wanted to model the Courtney Cox characters in some way there as well, but it's no way near. And
Yeah.
but otherwise, the other thing that I was thinking about, when I'm looking at the four movies, like for the current four movies, Ragnarok and
Thor: Love and Thunder.
Love and Thunder, I think they were going for what if we were going to be a Masters of the Universe movie if it was awesome. And I think if you're looking back to this one, to the original Masters of the Universe movie, I think even though it's a completely different license and completely different universe, so to say, I think the four movies are much closer to like the core of Masters of the Universe and
I
those
mean, they
kinds
both
of
have
comic book
jacked
stories.
blonde white guy.
Exactly. That's I think that's the main thing that they were going for, and I think if you would be going if you would be doing a Masters of the Universe in
Also,
the
did you read what the director said
2022,
was inspiration for this movie? Jack Kirby's New Gods. You know, Dark Side and Apocalypse.
yeah,
He said that was the inspiration for the film.
I could see some of those things, a little bit of the original Jack Kirby stuff, but I think in the 80s, I think it's a very very dark kind of representation of what the original content, the original property. I mean, imagine being in the 80s and you would have like one He-Man, maybe an evil Lynn, maybe a Skeletor back at home, and you would have like Cringer and Battle Cat and all those things from the original Mattel properties. You would be playing around with it. I had neighbors like
Did they had the
actively
Castle Grace
cosplaying.
show?
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah. They had like this really big like playset with everything in it, and I was actually more of a Transformers or Mask guy.
yeah.
Wasn't really exactly.
Where's Nick
that was my
Scarpino when
kind
you
of
need
property.
him?
Exactly. And Masters of the Universe was always this kind of. I think I was a little bit afraid of it back in the day because I wasn't really like
Was this Skeletor because he looks
if you've
scary?
seen, I think it's Skeletor, more or less, because like this face and that he had, and
But he's funny in the anime TV show.
he's
He always
he's
insults his.
funny and
He always-
exactly and I'm not really sure. I didn't really got it when I was watching. I only watched a couple of episodes, but I started to watch.
Basically,
the
you've seen
thing-
what was
the
it?
thing is-
Have you seen Battlefield Earth?
No, but
John Travolta is basically
uh,
acting like Skeletor in that film.
okay,
That to give you an idea.
I can see that. Okay, I can see that. No, actually, the funny thing was when I was watching this cinematic masterpiece, I was trying to have a cleanser after that. Palette cleanser. That's
palette
the
cleanser,
word I
okay.
was looking for. And I was starting to watch the Masters of the Universe Revelation series, and I'm only 2 episodes in, but it's way better than this.
Everything is better than what you just saw.
Way better.
I don't know if you can find it or not. The 2002 animated show, because people say that it's a very mature storyline. So you might enjoy it.
Okay.
It's called I think He-Man the Masters of the Universe. It's from 2002.
Okay. I didn't really know that they did. More
I think it
recent
ran only
stuff.
for 1 season only.
Okay.
Because they say that it's very close to the comic book, where it's described as very more dark and more mature, and they even say that because they describe basically the comic book is more like something like Star Wars meets Lord of the Ring.
Yeah, but I think Masters of the Universe, when it came out in the 80s, I think it kind of started a cinematic trend, so to say, where you would have certain properties, and I think Street Fighter is another example for that, where you have like established brands, and you would get some film producers and some directors and stuff like that.
I think it's the same
They take the
producer as
property-
Master Universe. It's the same as what was it? He-Man. I think Edward R. Pressman, because he's created also during the beginning.
Yeah, but you would have like a brand that you would know. I mean, something that you would know
They're like,
today
okay,
also
let's
as
say,
well.
okay, what's popular with the kids now? With the people, they say, oh, this is popular. It's like, get the rights for this one. We'll make this into a movie. That seems to be the thing.
Yeah, exactly. Especially you would have like something that's a hit with the kids,
Yeah.
but you also want to be dark and edgy for youth, young adults. Even bring in maybe some of the parents and stuff like that. So we'd have to tone the movie a little bit darker, and
I mean, this is what happened with
I
Street
think
Fighter.
they
We did
went
mention it, if you remember.
exactly. And I think one of the other things where this happened as well was, I think, Super Mario Bros. The Super Mario.
That was the
Bros.
first
movie.
video game movie.
Yeah, and one of those movies you would eventually have in this podcast series as well.
I think it's on the list. I have it.
Yeah, definitely. It's a must at that point,
Yeah.
Especially when I think next year.
Next year's the animated movie.
They postpone it to next year. The Chris Pratt Mario, but yeah, this one.
I wouldn't be surprised if I put
what-
the animated movie also on the list. Don't be surprised.
Let's wait and see until the movie comes out. Let's wait and see.
Yes.
I'm at that point. I'm really.
It's either
really
going to
open
be
for-
it's not that bad. It's okay, or it's one of the worst thing happened. There's no
Yeah.
middle ground. It's one way or another.
the thing
It's
is-
going to be an event when it comes out.
The thing is what I'm thinking. Even though Nintendo has been very reluctant ever since Super Mario Bros.
Yeah.
Came out back in the 90s. Seeing Shigeru Miyamoto being heavily attached to this movie, and
Attached.
I mean he's going there back and forth to what actually what I've been seeing or what I've
I mean, they
been
would say
told.
stuff. You hear story. Oh, this guy was in here, blah blah. But I don't know if he's really involved because Spielberg. How many movies he's produced? How many times do you think he went and saw a product? I mean, he's a producer on the Transformers. You mean he go ask it to Michael Bay to do something? No, because like if it makes me money, I don't care.
Shigeru Miyamoto on the Transformers movie?
Spielberg is executive
No.
producer.
I'm not talking Spielberg at that point. That's the thing. I'm talking Shigeru Miyamoto, the original OG guy who did Super Mario Bros.
Do you know what I think? I think because we talked about on Street Fighter, like in Japan, they see their movies dubbed and they didn't know about Van Damme having an accent. Maybe that's how they're gonna go in Japan to see with the Japanese stuff. They won't see with the original actors.
I mean, at that point, if you have like the combination of the studio that's doing the Minion movies, together with Nintendo,
and the guys who made Teen Titans Go directing the film.
Well, I haven't seen this one actually, so I'm outside of like putting a mark there. So I'm letting myself surprise if what's coming out eventually next year. But I haven't seen a single second of footage yet. I just heard the incredible announcement when the Nintendo Direct came out.
I've seen people. It was they did the best comedy film of the year. That's how I can describe it.
Just like the reaction videos for like who is actually voicing all those characters. Just like,
I was watching it with what's his name, Dan Record. He was reacting to it.
Yeah, I was watching the kind of funny live direct commentary, and they were losing their shits over there. It was one funny moment.
Yeah.
But Masters of the Universe.
We should start talking. Yeah. We talked about some stuff. I think we should dive more to it. So before we begin, I might drop some. You want to talk?
No. I just wanted to talk more like the canon influence that the movie also had. But what?
I mean, okay. So before we start talking more dive into the movie, we should do some housekeeping. Like I mentioned, 1 million subscribers on my YouTube channel. We'll get to review the Adventures of Achela, and I'm doing it with Joe and Andy. They're going to be part, and they're going to be punished by watching this movie. And Kai, you're free to join us if you're interested.
I'm going to think about it.
I'll take this. Yeah. So like I said, 1 million subscribe my YouTube channel if you want to see Joe and Andy mad the whole review for watching a movie that's mostly people walking. That's what it is, a walking simulator, the movie. Yeah. So anyhow, inside the housekeeping, I think we should start talking about our new movie. Do you know that this week, I think it's going to mark the 35th anniversary of this movie, Master of the Universe?
No.
Yeah, that's why I decided to review it, because it's the 35th anniversary.
Really?
Yeah. 35 years of people just roasting this movie.
The thing is, it's become some kind of cult classic right now. That's the thing. I mean, there are lots of
if you have a bad movie, it's always going to end up being a cult classic.
Not everyone. I mean, some of the movies really stay bad. Especially if you're having
Batman and Robin. Is there one of them?
Yeah, that one as well. No, I was thinking more like Canon Group as well. In general, like the movie group, the movie studio that eventually produced this kind of thing. I mean, the other movie that when this movie came out, so I'm talking about May up until let's just say September, or maybe August. So it's basically, imagine 1987, mid in the 80s. I'm actually 5 years back in the day. And Canon Group releases one movie after another. So first of
It's
all,
because
is
they do it
American
very low.
Ninja. Huh?
They spend a very low money on their budget. That's why.
Exactly. I mean, you would have like two kinds of release strategies that they have. You have lots of movies that are basically direct to VHS by that time. Lots of action schlocks that are really easy to produce, and it's basically a production line by that point. So their whole strategy is basically you're producing and producing and producing and producing very cheap budget, low budget movies, action movies. You're selling tickets in outside markets from the US. You're getting money already in, even though the movie is not finished or not even like produced at all. But
That's
you
I think
have
what
already
Millennium
money
is now
coming in.
doing right now. Millennium Media, because they're also the same thing. If I Because they do the one that do the
it's
Expendables and those action movies.
so yeah, it's basically a similar business model at that point, but it's something like a pyramid scheme to some extent, because you basically have to have like the money really coming in from the movies that you're going to be watching, and eventually so they had lots of movies that are some kind of like coming in.
Yeah. This is actually what the
And
Gizzard movies, like the Bruce Willis movies that he's doing right now, the John Travolta, the direct video. That's how they do it. Like, they will market, oh, we got this big star on this movie, they will sell it internationally, then they shoot it very cheap, but he's all in it for a few days, he gets most of the money, and the rest is history.
Or the Bruce Willis movies from the last couple of years. That basically, I haven't seen any of them, but I've seen videos about it. But just
Mattel did a
Bruce
great
streamed
video
in.
about it, in case you've seen it.
Yeah.
And by the way, before we begin this, we know that Bruce Willis, he's doing these movies because of his, health problems. I forgot this condition that he's having, and we're not making fun of him. Like, this is his life. He wants to do this. Let him do it.
Yeah.
But different the story about him. That's why we're not making fun of him or anything.
No, definitely not. But coming back to canon. So basically, they had. I mean, you had already talked about one movie, Life Force.
Yeah.
They also had other things like American Ninja. They had
Runaway Train.
Invasion.
They did
Runaway Train.
They've done some. That's an award-winning films like Runaway Train. There's that Street Smart. That's the one with Christopher Reeves and what's his name? Morgan Freeman. I think that's his breakout role. Morgan Freeman's breakout role.
Mm.
I mean, they've done also. I mean, it's not just like slow budget. They've also done some award-winning films.
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's you're getting more and more recognition, and eventually you would be saying like, okay, we have the power to do something here. We can produce something that is basically getting us even more money.
Yeah.
And at that point, you would have movies coming out like Delta Force, Cobra.
The Chuck Norris. They worked with Chuck Norris, right?
Then they had lots of Chuck Norris. They had lots of
mostly Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren films.
Van Damme, Dolph Lundgren. They had getting more to Stallone.
I think Ninja movies was like you said, American Ninja. Is this the one that had Frank Nero in it? Because I know Frank Nero did the Ninja movie, but they say that the Asian actor became so popular than him that they gave him more sequel stuff to make Ninja movies.
Could be, but Michael Dudikoff was one of those like you would have like movies centered around certain actors, certain action actors, and then they also had this idea of not only getting like the big actor putting it on first entry. They also went more like into the idea of like no that was Kuroko, I think, but they went more into producing bigger budgets, bigger special effects based things. And what was happening in 1987, and I'm just reading right now a list of movies that were coming out in the months between May and August. So you have beginning of May, you would have American Ninja 2, The Confrontation. So basically the follow-up to American Ninja. Then you would have Diary of a Mad Old Man. I have no idea what that is.
Sounds like an
Master of
Scarpino
Dragonheart
movie.
could be yeah, Diary of a Mad Old Man. Then you would have Master of Dragonheart Hill. I have also no idea what that is. The
I think
Emperor's
9%
New
of
Clothes.
them are all like, what was it, direct-to-video films. I won't be surprised.
Exactly. It's just like, I have no idea what this kind of thing is. Then you would have Master of Dragonheart Hill, The Emperor's New Clothes, Too Much, Three Kinds of Heat.
Wait, Too Much is
Then
the name of a movie?
Too Much is the name of a movie.
I thought you said there's too much.
No.
Okay, go ahead, continue.
The movie is not too much. So then you would have Three Kinds of Heat. What's also very interesting, they had also some kind of Disney feature branch as well, where they did something like live action versions of Disney properties or things that you would know from Disney. Or later on, actually, because they had an Aladdin movie even before the original Aladdin came out.
What was what they did with Bud Spencer? I think. Because I know he did an Aladdin movie. Is this the Aladdin movie by Bud Spencer?
Yes.
It is?
Yes, it's the Bud Spencer movie.
Because I remember him doing an Aladdin movie.
It is the Aladdin movie with Bud Spencer. It is yes, the kind of
the movie is called Super Fantasia, but it's called Aladdin.
Holy hell. Because, and that's jumping back to the summer of 87, Sleeping Beauty is the next movie. It's coming out in June 1987 on June 12th.
I mean, didn't they also do... What was
they had Aladdin, Sleeping Beauty. They had lots of. I'm looking through the list right now. It's so much. Rumpelstiltskin, Beauty and the Beast.
Alan Parliament, The Lost City of Gold, Street Smart, American Ninja.
Okay, coming back. So we're still in the summer of 87, and then you would have the two biggest movies in the canon history. And it's starting off with Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
Yes.
And then on August 7, Masters of the Universe. So basically 2 weeks separating Superman and Masters of the Universe. And
as every month you're seeing a movie coming out. And like I said, there's no space.
No. Not only that, you're having in each month multiple movies coming out.
Yes, I'm saying, because September has 4 movies they released.
It is amazing what they've been shitting out there. And most of them are basically forgotten in history. They even have a Puss in Boots movie in 1988.
Puss in
for
Boots?
Some reason, starring Christopher Walken.
That's a movie. I have to see it.
It does exist.
I don't. What does he voice a cat?
Yes.
A musical also version.
Yes.
Boy, I think I know what I'm going to talk about on the next Zoom call for Mark.
I mean, when we are right now talking about, like, there's going to be a Puss in Boots movie, we are talking about the original 1988 Puss in Boots movie from Ken Films. I think, let's just say it like that, they are way ahead of their time, predicting movie trends even before they're coming out. I mean, at some point they had, like, the rights to the Spider-Man franchise.
Yes, they had led to multiple Marvel franchise IPs besides Spider-Man.
Eventually, so 1989 is basically one of the forks in their history.
I remember, I think I have their names. The producers, the two big ones, Menahem Golan and Yoram Globus. One of them, I think, left and took the IP of the Marvel stuff.
Exactly. They split off. They had, like, their own kind of separate movies. movie studios, and then they eventually produced the Captain America movie from 1991, I think.
Let me check.
Um,
I think it's what's his name. Yoram Globus. He's the one I think who did the Captain America movie. Let me check. I'm not seeing anything. Okay, so I think we have a long pregnant pause.
yeah, there was a very, very pregnant pause at that point.
Yeah, I apologize, people.
Yeah, but let's just say it like that. They had
It's Menahim
hundreds
Golan.
of
He's the guy who
movie.
took the Captain America IP.
Yeah, okay, but they've shitted out hundreds of movies. And let's just say it like that. Some of those are pure shit. Because nothing really. I mean, it's a standard like Chuck Norris movie. I mean, some of them are redeemable to some extent, but like they have the standard premise of like you have like this action guy who is good with guns and has to enforce the right for freedom, liberty, and whatever. And on the way there, he's shooting every bad guy he sees upon, and that's basically every movie. And most of them you would be seeing like on late Saturday night TV runs on some TV channels, and yeah, that's where they were basically getting the money from.
Yeah. All right. I think we should start talking about this film. I saw Master of the Universe. It was directed by Gary Goddard. I think this is actually his first time directing a film, and he was mostly best known for doing like one of those studio tour movies. Like I think he did the T2 like ride for Universal.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's done mostly directed rides. That's how. I think the producers he saw him like saw one of the rides. He's like, I think it was a fantasy. I remember what it was. He was like, hey, you know what? You should do the Master of the Universe movie that we have. So that's how he got the job.
Yeah, what?
I don't think he directed a movie after this. Let me check.
I don't see anything. No. I just see let's just say it like that. Me Too allegations. And,
yes.
At that point, it's getting.
He's friends with. He used to be friends with what's his name, Brian Singer. That's all I would say.
Yeah, not really like a good sign, but yeah.
Basically, if you don't know, he got accused by multiple, I think, men of what's it, sexual harassment and assault. And apparently, he sexually molested some of the, That's all what they're saying.
Okay.
I guess
also like I think the other elephant in the room would also be like the allegations against Frank Langella, but I think
I don't know the exact full story of what happened. Did he do something or did he say something? Because I don't know the exact story of what happened.
It's I think it's a big kind of miscommunication that they will have. Like there was also so there was this one movie, The Fall of the House of Usher, where he was being cast at, and he was fired from this movie because they were saying like he had some unacceptable behavior on the set, kind of groping people and doing sexual jokes and stuff like that. And I think at that point, I'm not really like defending it, but I think it's more like a generational thing, where you have like older actors thinking some of the things that they did back in the like 70s, 80s, 90s were kind of acceptable or kind of tolerated, and newer studio productions basically say that no, those things you are not allowed anymore, and for a good reason. And it kind of hurt to me. It looked kind of like that you would have this like behavior of someone who would be doing this on like things before, not really having bad intentions, so to say, or in a sexual exploitation kind of way, more like in a let's do this like joke here and there, but it's being, let's just say, misinterpreted as some kind of sexual offense or sexual approach, and that's why it was fired. And at least it looked kind of like that to me. If
there's more to the story.
Thing,
Look, I said,
know.
the main story is that we don't know the full detail of what happened. Because if we ever find out, the thing maybe one day might find out what happened going on. Because sometimes you might hear stories like, okay, we need more story what happened. Because I don't know if you heard about this TV show happened called Station 19, where the writers' room, they had one of the writers, I think he was writing a treatment for an episode. That guy, if I'm not mistaken, is white. He wrote the episode in the script that painted there's some racist still against Latinos, and then people saw the word and they got freaked out. And for what I understand, the character who said the racist was supposed to be the racist guy who's saying it to a Latino guy in the plane. And people, they say the writers, everyone freaked out in the room. They had to shut down everything. They had to put a statement like we're pro diversity and stuff. But the old usual spill that you see something happen now. Because people like, so is this an overreaction? Are they doing this because like I said, the guy he did in his script because a white guy wrote the racist lesser, but it's not, from what I mean, it's not like something like a Tarantino would do with the N word. Because from what I understand, this script is written like a racist guy saying this slur. It's not like something like normal like what Tarantino would do. This is just the story that I've heard, but at least if there's more detail comes out, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Anyway, I think.
So like I said, Frank
would be better to talk about
the movie.
Yeah.
And also, like I said, Frank Langella, like I said, I can't judge it now because I don't know the full detail of what's going on happened. And so like I said, like this movie is, like I said, was directed by Gary Goddard, Menahem Golan, and Yoram Globus from The Canon. They produced the film, and this film actually I think we consider a great casting for him. And they got Dolph Lundgren. He's coming right now in the heels of Rocky IV, playing He-Man. And then you got Frank Langella, who at that time I think he's best known for his stage play and stuff. I think he did appear some, I think, movies or TV shows, but I think he was still being like an acting and a thespian actor. He got cast as Skeletor. We got some up and comer. We got Courtney Cox, who does Pre-Friends. She's been cast as Julie Winston, like the female lead. We also got, what was it? Barry Livingston. This, I think, what the casting, the list that I saw on the list, I picked it on, like, copy pasted. He plays like the store owner Charlie. I mean, a lot of people are familiar with him, so I was not familiar. Then if you want to talk about familiar people, we got James Tolkien, of whom you know him from playing, I think, the principal. He's the principal in Fast and Back to the Future, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He's plays the detective. And what?
Funny thing was, afterwards I was watching Top Gun.
Oh, yes, right. He was one of the agent in Top Gun.
And he is also there. And I was thinking,
acting the same role. Actually, he's playing the same role. He's not aging.
No, it's like, where is Agent Director Strickland also appearing? That's he's everywhere.
You got also Christina Pickles playing as the sorceress. Mick Foster, whom I think a lot of genre people know for his sci-fi work. I mean, I think most of us will recognize her from They Live. She plays Evil Lynn. Chelsea Fields, I mean, she was at that time, I think, an up-and-comer. And I found out that she's married to Scott Bakula in real life. She plays Tila.
Tila is married to
Yes,
Captain Archer?
it's from
What?
Enterprise, yes.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, now you've broken my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, you got John Cypher, who plays the Man-at-Arms with Duncan. Billy Barty, who I'm pretty sure his character is supposed to be Orko, but because of budget stuff just like that, we'll create a new character, Gweldor. And then we also got your boy Robert Duncan McNeil from Star Trek Voyager. He plays Kevin, Julie's boyfriend. Other cast also you got the other creature. You got Blade, Beastman, Sarud, Karg, and apparently there's a character named Big Pig Boy who apparently was played by Richard Sponzenter, who apparently he won this role through a contest.
Okay, that would be an interesting contest.
Yeah. I mean, remember, they just did it for The Mask too, remember? I mean, it didn't happen because it was supposed to be Jim Carrey coming back, and then it fell through, remember? There was a contest for The Mask 2 for Nintendo.
Oh. I didn't.
That's a story for another day. When we do the Son of Mask, we'll talk about it.
Holy hell.
Yeah. So, I think we should start up plotting the film. So it begins actually with on the planet Interia. With you see the narrator, he talks about how in fact that the castle Grayskull, and we see the castle Grayskull who looks nothing like the castle in the animated show. Instead, it looks like a painting that someone drew. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, most of those things back in the day were, like even in Star Wars, were hand painted artist renderings of like what the landscape would look like.
But it didn't look as good as Star Wars. That's all I'll say.
This look cheap as hell.
I mean, everything looks cheap as hell. We'll talk. This is gonna be a recurring segment. Every time we see something, we talk about. So like we see like Skeletor, the narrator talks about. He said that whoever controls this castle of Grayskull will become the master of the universe. So we see like Skeletor and his army, which we see Evil Lyn, who's played by Legacy and Meg Foster, and then they seize the castle and then they kidnap the sorcerers of Grayskull. And then we also see the first look of both Evil Lyn and what's his name, Skeletor. And boy, talk about a design that doesn't look like the character in the
No, far from it. So it's basically, let's take the original design for any of those characters, throw them away, and make something completely different.
Yep.
And I think that's basically like similar thing when we were discussing earlier, what they did for Super Mario Bros. Or Street Fighter.
At least Street Fighter tried to keep stuff close to the source material.
Street Fighter tried to be close.
Because they had Capcom, because behind them it was like, make sure you do this. That's why they hadn't look. The sequel, that's a different story. That's the Chun-Li one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, you cannot really like talk about this being a sequel to.
Yeah, because apparently
magnificent schlock that.
Apparently, I read about the sequel. They were gonna bring Van Damme back as Gal, and he said no. When Van Damme says no to your movie, right, you have a bad film.
Or you have tried to get him to less money.
Yeah. And you see him like Skeletor's like he kidnapped. He's like now he's left with he wants to capture He-Man because he wants to. If I'm not mistaken, he wants to kill He-Man by himself, right?
The thing is, the standard thing that's coming from lore, or basically the lore from Masters of the Universe. What I don't really understand is basically He-Man is He-Man the entire movie. The whole premise of him being like Prince Adam and He-Man is basically his secondary.
Like we said in the beginning of the show, it's like there was no lore in things. You only had the toys. It's like make a story about the toys. You didn't solve the cartoons. There was no lore anything. Just give them the toys and make a movie about the toys.
Yeah, but even if you had a look at the toys itself, even if you only have seen the intro, the main premise is basically you would have Prince Adam
Yes.
as a whole one-off character, basically, who has the secret identity of becoming a super duper looking buff guy. Once he
Basically, just for
summons
those who
all
are
the power of
listening or
Grayskull.
watching, imagine Shazam, that if he says Shazam, he turns into Thor. Thor, and Chris Hemsworth. Let's give.
Yeah,
Because he's blonde and then muscular. That's why I said Thor.
Actually, the 4 comics did those things. If you would have the original thing, because in the original 1970s version of Thor, Thor was basically the secret identity for Donald Blake, or basically Thor was doubling as Dr. Donald Blake there, and when he was summoning Mjolnir, then he became eventually Thor, just like what you would see Lady Thor or Mighty Thor in Thor: Love and Thunder, this movie, where Natalie Portman only transitions or transforms into Mighty Thor if she has Mjolnir in her hands. Otherwise, she goes back to being Jane Foster.
All right. So,
but like this whole Prince Adam thing is completely missing there, and that's bothering me the hell out of this movie. But yeah.
Maybe because maybe a lot of reasons because they didn't have the budget to hire kids. It's like, nah, just to keep him this.
I mean, you could even have Dolph Lundgren appear with a shirt in it, just with a shirt, because he doesn't wear anything throughout the movie.
Yeah, because they want to show him his chest. Especially with the fights in later, we see him fighting, you see camera, sometimes it focuses on his body.
The thing is, he's sweating all the time. He's so wet the entire movie.
Even that torture scene
happening
like later. Boy.
It's just like, especially in those things. It looks like in all those scenes where the camera is off of him, there are some guys running like water and some kind of things over him, just like to get him this look, this watery look that he has.
Yeah. So like I said, we see him like and even Skeletor. And my other favorite part about this scene is like, I need to talk to the people of Eternia. And I don't know if you saw this, do you repeat the scene like with 2 soldiers are dragging someone, they're walking, and one scene they mirrorize the scene. It's like they used it in another shooting, and in one of the shots, I don't know if you noticed, one of the shots was walking, he trips and then he stands up. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't, but I have to look at it again.
It's in the beginning. I think it's before. I think He-Man. I think it's before he and Teela and what's his name, Man at Arms. They travel like with bootleg. What's his name, Orko to the castle. Yeah, so basically now he seems to talk to. And I do like the fact that people is that it's just some few people standing over there. People if it just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people standing and he's talking to them and that's it. I was like, this is how much people in Eternia? Just few numbers. I do like it. So basically we see him like he records the message like, this is for He-Man. I got this. I've taken over. So this whole place he's in the castle in Grayskull, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because.
I mean, you only see those shots in the beginning. Then most of the time it's like inside Castle Grayskull, and then basically everything is on Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, because they even say that they think they didn't have enough budget to shoot everything. That's why everything looks cheap. Then of course you see Dolph Lundgren. He sees the message in the sky. Then he's like, he ends up fighting the soldiers, and then he to be helped by what's his name, Man at Arms and Teela, because he sees him like, and then you see like they were holding someone hostage, and you find out that that's actually Billy Barty's character, Orko's replacement, Gweldor. Which we later.
I was.
Go ahead.
Um, ha- do you know about Hugo?
Who?
Hugo.
Is this the small also dwarfing creature that flies in?
Yes.
Orko, you mean? That's
No,
what this. Is it
no,
Orko?
no, no, no. Hugo.
Who's that?
Hugo. Back in the 80s, back in the 90s, basically in Germany, we had this like telephone show
Oh.
where you have like a small little gnome with like big, large ears and like this very, very pointy face. And when I was looking at like the cheap ass Orco replacement that we got,
All I say is
I
that
was
glad
thinking,
that Andy's in here to talk to roast you. That's all I say.
and I was thinking like, well, are they also both kind of brothers, like Death from Bill and Ted and Skeletors are cousins, and yeah.
Maybe that's their stunt double. You know how like the scene from Spaceballs, like you can't the stunt double. Maybe that's their stunt doubles.
Exactly. That was the other thing. Like it looks like Yodel from Spaceballs.
Yeah. And then you find out that Gweldor's like he actually the guy who created a teleporting device that can teleport people to any place, and that's how you find out Skeletor got one, and that's how he was able to sneak into the castle of Grayskull and capture the sorceress. He was like, "Can you help me?" He tells him, "Look, I have the same device in my house." And I do like it's like when they go to his house when he locks the door, you see what looks like what was it? A normal like from the what's it called? Knuckle with junk something knuckle I think. But you know what I'm talking about, right? You see like giant wheels, like very technology. Then you see like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What's it called? This thing we forgot.
Also, no idea how it's called in German.
Because we always call it the luck because it's basically. I think I have something. I wrote something from. No. Let's see. It's my language.
Yeah, something.
I think
in German.
Deadbolts. I think is it Deadbolts?
Okay.
I think it's a Deadbolt.
No, in German, it's called like a spy or Spion.
I think it's called. Let me check. It's called I think Deadbolt if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Schlossriegel, yeah.
It's some kind of a Deadbolt where you see like. So let's stop talking about Deadpool. So basically, what I'm saying is that you see lots of technology. For some reason, you see a Deadpool on the doors being used to lock the door, and you're like, "How the hell is this technological advance?"
I mean, it's been proven efficient for so long.
Yeah, but
why not?
When you look at the tone of the film, people say, "Oh, everything is fit technology," and you see something very more that doesn't fit. And also the way it was shot, it's like if you look at fence, like closing, you see a Deadpool closing the door. And of course, now after that, he shows him the device. He tells him like this. We'll use this one to teleport. But he tells him like Skeletor can detect the teleporting device, but they find out that they already know their location. They escape and then they use the. Did he use the teleporting device or did he say, "Oh, this underground area will send you to Castle Grayskull"? I think they sneak in. They didn't use the teleporting device.
Yeah, they somehow get into it very, very fast. It's one thing. I think I didn't really pay attention to some of those details in the beginning, but yeah.
Yes. So
it's just like.
And by the way,
transition.
The device is called the Cosmic Key. In case anybody's interested, I think.
I should get one of those.
You want to play some Synth? Yeah. I do like, and also I would say this: Dolph Lundgren is trying his best to act because I know he's just coming here. He's not wasn't an if he actually has buzzed mechanical engineering degree.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And he's, if
He's
not mistaken,
Masters of Engineering.
and yeah, and because he's not an actor, and because he got cast on Rocky 4, he got famous because of Drago, and he brought in. You see him like his English, like his, because he's Swedish, right?
Thing is, yes, he's from Sweden. The thing is, I think in the documentary they were saying like at some point Stallone was visiting the set or was visiting one of the producers, and they were talking about Masters of the Universe, and they were saying like, "What, you cast this guy here and he has lines?" Because he was like, well, for being a main actor and doesn't really know
Because
English
apparently
very well.
he has, I think, 3 times tries that he has to try saying his dialogues, or else they would have redubbed him. But unfortunately, they had to fill behind schedule. It's like, now just leave it because we don't have enough time to find an actor redub.
Yeah, but if you're watching the credits afterwards, you are seeing like lots of like dialogue coaches that.
I mean, they used to start because, like you said, he's not like, I'm not American. English might not be so, but I think now he's speaking English very well.
Yeah. He's definitely improved his English.
Yeah. And what was that? Oh yeah, so because you would see like some of the dialogues he speaks, like for example, this because we tell something like "let her go." That way, it doesn't sound weird in some dialogues. And of course, Skeletor, he's just there. He's like chewing the scenery. And I was Frank Langella. He's very open. He talked about it. He was like, "Oh, I did this because for my children." And it's funny enough. He said in an interview one time, it's like after the movie got finished and they had the screening, he was like, "Can I have a screening for my son? He's a fan of He-Man." He took it to the screening, and his son, I think, 20 minutes into the movie, fell asleep watching the film.
It's a similar thing like Raw Julia, and it's very heartwarming to hear those things. It's I mean even today, if you're looking at Christian Bale in For Love and Thunder, like he was saying in interviews most of the times like, they don't really care about like my work that I've been doing in the past, and it's the guy who's played freaking Batman, and they were saying please be in the MCU, please be in the MCU.
I mean, MCU is like, that's the big thing now instead of Batman. Yeah.
I mean, he's awesome as Batman, but I'm thinking like,
maybe because they didn't like maybe his bad voice. That's how he speaks.
I am Batman.
He's just like, Dad, what are you doing?
Please play Gore the God Butcher. Who?
Yeah. That's also a great name, Gore the God Butcher.
Yeah, I think this movie. I think if they put Gore the God Butcher as an Masters of the Universal villain, I think it would work, and I think it would massively improve the movie. But yeah.
Yeah. And you read why they changed his look in Thor: Love and Thunder, right, Gore?
I think they couldn't get the he looked more
very
like
similar,
Voldemort.
like a Voldemort, and he even said it felt striking that he had to change his look.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were like, oh yes, I saw.
And I think the same would have been good for a Skeletor there.
I made it. They gave it a worse look. Everything looks worse in this film.
It's.
Man, can't wait until we get to this his 4 henchmen. Then we'll talk about it. Maybe some bad looks.
Oh god.
Every makeup creature comes in, makes the other one looks bad. That's what I can tell you. Okay, I forgot to ask you, how much did you spend on the Blu-ray?
Like 30 euros? 13 euros. So.
That's how much in dollar?
13? We are like 1 to 1.
You know what? We'll do, if whoever's listening, you heard him 13 euros. Do use currency converter. You find out how much it costs.
Yeah, just multiply it with a factor of 1.
All right, so it's like, so they snuck into the castle, and then but however they get overwhelmed if they don't succeed in saving the sorceress. It's like they tell them like with the Gwyldor, like take us anywhere. He uses his device and they travel to the portal. And we don't see them where they go, but I like the fact that Nate when they come in, the way they shot of the special effect, the green screen, the even looks bad. It's like someone throwing toys outside of the hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and then they even see his skeletons like, where did they go? It's like we don't know where they're going. It's like, the only we can detect if they use the device again. So they wake up like from if they actually, if I'm mistaken, in a swamp, and Gwildo like he stands up and he blows his nose. What water comes out from his ears and on them. And then they hear something come in and they see a cow. How much did it cost them to get the cow? I want to say that's the most expensive thing to get in the movie.
Yeah, probably, but I thought it was a really, really hard cut from this high action fantasy thing, and then you would have like the story of Courtney Cox's character in this fast food thing where she was working.
Yeah.
That was really, really like a hard cut for me.
Yes, we'll talk about fast food. Remind me because we talk about something later. I don't know if you noticed it, but I'll tell you about it later. So they come in just like we don't know where we are. They don't have the cosmic key, huh? And they tell them like each one of us to travel to a location and find the key. And then that's where we get into the Courtney because she works actually in a fast food restaurant. I think what's it called, the place? Something Ribs and Chicken, right?
Yeah, could be.
Yeah. Or something like Ribs and Chicken. And we find out that her story is that she wants to leave her city after the graduation. I think she wants to go to New Jersey, something like this, right? At the same time, she said, "What about your boyfriend?" He's like, "No, he's gonna understand." And then you see like she leaves with her boyfriend, who's played by Robert Duncan McCall, who plays his character. If I'm not mistaken, is Kevin, right?
Kevin Corrigan.
Yes, and Courtney Cox, she plays Julie.
Yeah, and you also have like this very emotionally scene where Robert Duncan McNeil takes her out and they are visiting the grave.
That's before we're about to talk about the scene, because after they leave, you see what's in Man at Arms and Tila just.
Right.
Yeah, because they come in, because Tila, she comes in, she hears sound, she sees her dad. Because did you explain that they are father and daughter in this film?
Yes.
Oh yeah. She tells him what are you doing. It's like, I'm hungry. It's like, you know, I mean, we can't, turn back to Tony with an empty stomach. And then you see what's his name, Goldo, like he steals like a bucket of chicken and ribs from them and he started eating. And then he goes, yeah. And I like that he drank all the sauce like a liquid. And then he tells him, "You're not gonna give us." Like they start eating. And I don't know, but you saw like this. I don't know if you Google about the messengers. Are they all vegetarians in Eternia?
That I didn't really understand.
Because she's like, because when they're eating, he's like, I like the man. I was like, I'll eat this. I don't care if it's meat. And Tila's like, wait, you tell me we're eating meat? And Gordo's like, it's delicious. Because I don't know, because I'm not familiar with the Master of the Universe lore. Maybe if there's something like this, I might recognize it.
Yeah, that I don't know also for sure.
Yeah. Alright, because then that's after where we get the scene we were about to talk about, where they're standing over her parents' grave, where you find out that they died in a plane crash, and she's blaming herself because they were supposed to go to the beach, but she said no because she wanted to study. And they said they went and traveled. That's a very confusing thing. They said they went to travel for one day, they're gonna come back. But her father, they say, I think, but later we find out that he's a pilot. Was he the one driving the plane? I mean, flying the plane. Yeah. There's a very confusing story about her backstory.
Yeah, I at that point is, I think, just like the idea that she's an orphan right now and she's only like depending on her boyfriend and stuff like that, and it's a muddled background at that point. I think it's more. It's
mostly like, sounds like they need something to be the reason for people to have come there. So it's like, let's just put this thing.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like.
I mean, in general, I was under the impression. I mean, even though those scenes for high schoolers kind of reminded me of like what they were going for Back to the Future style, with Marty McFly and his girlfriend back in the original movies. I think they wanted to go into a similar direction there as well, but they're not really like fleshed out characters, so to say that I really they don't really like dive in more into what's making her like miss her parents a little bit more. We just like seeing her in front of the grave. That's basically it. We just know that they died, and that's everything. But you don't really like get to know what is basically affecting her the most about the death of her parents, and that's basically what's lacking any of the characters or human characters, so to say. Just like one-dimensional tropes to some extent. They're just like your musician boyfriend. You have like the detective that's
The grumpy detective.
the grumpy detective and stuff like that, and that's basically it for everyone.
Yeah. And that's the we find out later that they're the ones who find like the cosmic key, and they think it's actually a synthesizer from Japan. That's what he says, and that's I do like that. You okay?
Oh my god.
And the ambitious Japan's
I mean,
like, hey, don't put us in this bullshit.
How cheap can you get?
And I do like.
I mean the
No, go ahead, continue.
the thing the thing what I would be liking is like the sounds that this thing is doing, like
Yeah. It reminds me of the synth sounds effect in Star Trek: The Motion Picture when they're about to go meet what's his name? What's the Vija?
Vija?
Is it?
Vija,
Remember
yeah.
they play dance.
Yeah.
That's what it felt. But that one they're done better.
Much better. I think I've heard something about that one of the sound designers for this kind of particular instrument, or basically synthesizer, was actually involved in some of those things for Picard season 3. So you might get to hear it in the future again. But
Man, I don't know about Picard because I'm not hearing great things about the show.
That's the other thing. Picard season 2 is not really like it could be a whole different kind of episode for.
Is Will Wheaton mad that he didn't ask him to come back?
No, he's actually quite happy. But
yeah, but part of me, do you think might be jealous? It's like, hey, you got everyone back, but not me. But he didn't appear in Picard yet, right?
Actually, thing is big kind of miscommunication, I guess, because you would have the announcement of the entire crew reappearing for season 3, and this teaser was released right in the middle of season 2 being released. So everybody was jumping, of course, like, where's Will Wheaton? Where's Will Wheaton? And Will Wheaton at that point, under contract, under NDA, couldn't say anything because he's basically a character in season 2 by that point. So of course you cannot really say I'm sad, I'm bad, that he's not really like in season 3. Of course he could be in season 3 as a like one
maybe it's a plot something device
cameo. So it could be. I mean, right now where spoilers for Picard season 2, Wesley Crusher has basically become Doctor Who in the Star Trek universe. So he could pop up anywhere throughout the entire Star Trek universe right now. He could be in Discovery, for Christ's sake. He could be in Lower Decks, of course, easily.
Because I know Robert Duncan McCall is in Lower Decks, if not mistaken, right?
He is in Lower Decks. There was this one episode where he's coming on board the Cerritos, and everybody has their kind of like Tom Paris plate where his head is on, and it's like laughing about the fact that there is something in real life where they're putting like the faces of characters on plates that you could put in your frame back at home, and they're doing it in universe there for all the characters of Voyager. But
yeah,
that's the later adventures of Robert Duncan McNeil.
yeah. I think because he just acted. The last acting gig was an episode of Chuck before he did like he came back for Lower Deck. Because most of the time he's been busy directing stuff.
He's been doing lots of behind the scenes stuff. We were talking a little bit about it earlier in the before we started recording. He basically did something in the Star Trek Voyager phase where he jumped from being an actor to being a director. There was some kind of behind the scenes school tutorial for actors becoming directors, and afterwards he became a producer for Shock and lots of other shows. So he went on.
I think he's a director and producer on Resident Alien.
Yeah, could be.
That's the one with Alan Tudyk, where he's an alien.
Yeah, and
okay, what was that?
yes.
So yeah, back to the movie. So they find like the synthesizer, and because they were touching the button, was it Skeletor? Like then this team they detected. It's like, see if you guys can to the source the next time they play it. Then it cuts to them in the prom house where he's testing the sound, and he starts Kevin starts playing with the. Is it Kevin? Yes, Kevin starts playing with the cosmic key, and then it starts to show like the maps and the alien stars. That's where the Skeletor and his men define the location. He tells to like send your men after them. So we get this, and we get introduced to Blade, Beastman, Sarud, and Karg. Do you want to talk about them?
Oh.
Or do you want me to talk about them?
Not really. You fire off.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
They look like shit. That's all I say.
I signed that completely. I mean.
At least I'll say this.
No
Sarud at least looks good at least, but there is a thing. Everything looks that and little bit good, but everything looks like shit. Especially that was it. Was it Karg man? What I was like, what the hell is this that I'm looking at? Especially that's the guy with the white wig and the creature. I was like, okay, what the heck is this?
Yeah. You would have something like a demonic, monster werewolfy character, and you have this like huge gray wig on top of it, and it's so friggin' ridiculous looking.
Yeah. And by the way, to talk about the costume, I read somewhere that what's her name, Megan Foster. Apparently, her body armor was so tight on her that she ended up getting, I think, rashes on her groin because of the suit.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And apparently they were gonna give her like contact lenses, but they saw that her natural eyes looks better. It's like, nah, keep it. Your eyes will be bad. People, I think, still think she's wearing contact lens in the film.
Mm.
Yeah. So he tells her send this guy to retrieve, the cosmic key. Kevin, and he tells like in Julius like, hey, you know what? I have to go. Maybe Charlie might help me with this synthesizer. He leaves her alone in the prom, and then this where they start attacking like. And she starts running away, and it's funny. I don't know if you know. Did you notice the Pepsi cans in the back?
Yes.
Yes.
Especially if you have. I actually made a screenshot afterwards, where they were thanking in the credits lots of companies.
Is one of them a fast food restaurant? I don't want to say what it is, but it's
one was a fast food chain.
Which we'll talk about it later about the scene. I know exactly what fast food restaurant this is. Because Pepsi also, but I think not mistaken, they sponsored this and Garbage Pail Kids. Because there's a scene, I don't know if you've seen it.
Actually, you would have Pepsi Cola, Casio, which was like
because the
the producer
keyboard,
for the
the
synthesizer.
synthesizer.
Yeah, Adidas is also kind of
Adidas?
like special thanks mentioning, and of course the cooperation with the
The
burger
fast food company will say
franchise.
this.
Yes.
We'll talk about which company it is. So what was I? Oh yes. What was I talking about? Oh yes. So the attacker, she escapes and like, and then she goes in the street. That's where she comes across He-Man. Then He-Man starts, fighting them, and then what happens? What the Tila and Man Up, they come and they help him. And then they all move
Yeah,
to
and
retreat and escape back to Castle Grayskull. There, I think Skeletor, I think, gets mad at them and he kills, if I'm not mistaken, Sarud, right? That's the snake guy, right?
yeah, he kills one of them.
Yes, sir.
Let's say it like
I
that.
think it's because he's
And
the most complicated makeup. That's why they killed him. Because like you can't have. Because
it's so obvious.
Yeah, because
so
it's like, man, we
obvious,
can't
yes.
have something good in the movie. We can have it for a few seconds. Let's kill him. And I do like the Beastman. He's like, he starts back on his knees. He starts, come on. He's like, come on, I'll suck your dick. Come on, make me alive. He does this Skeletor.
Yeah, and we also.
By the way, he doesn't suck his dick. It's just a phrase, by the way. I mean, it looks like it's about to in the movie, but.
Yeah. And you also have like the other reason for the movie where we don't really mention the prom anymore because the whole prom burned down.
They blew up the whole place. And by the way, we talked about his army. They're all or Skeletors. I don't forget to mention his army are all robots, and that's because Mattel had requested He-Man doesn't kill any human. He's like, fine, we'll make his enemies all robots. That's why.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah. Then we cut back later to and also he tells also the villain, you say go with them and you make sure you find that was the cosmic key, and get me He-Man, bring him to me alive. There actually is where we find out that Julia, she tells him like, oh yeah, the key that you're looking for is with my boyfriend Kevin. Kevin, you see like later he's in the shop, charge shop, and he sees the cars going like to the location of the high school prom. He goes there. That's where he meets a detective. What's his name?
Strickland. Let's just call it Detective Strickland.
Yes, Detective Strickland, played by James Tolkien from Back to the Future. You know what? I'll call him the detective. He tells them what's happening. It's like he tells them we find no body of the his girlfriend, and they find her, I think, purse, right? His name is Lubick.
Just like. Yeah, Yul Lubick is his official name, but again, for me, it's like Detective.
I mean, he's playing the same character all over again in every movie. He's.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was waiting the entire thing to at Robert Dunk McNeil like you're a slacker. I was missing this the entire movie.
Yeah, he even talks to him. It's like. He's like, how can you describe me? Her girlfriend. It's like, hey, you're not gonna do something. It's like, you know what? You want to do something? You come. I like this part. It's like, you come with me. We'll go look for her. He drags him with him in the car, and then they drive it up and sing it to her house. And they're actually in their house. You see it. That's where we see it. Like he's talking to the cop, and it shows him like, what the heck is this? He tells him like, oh, that's a synthesizer. Like, and the person's like, wow. It's like, where did you find this? It doesn't just like, it's not belong to him. It's like, did you store it? It's like, no, I found it in the graveyard. It's like, I don't know what this is, but I don't think it's a synthesizer. I'll go to Charlie to tell me whether or not this is a synthesizer. He leaves him, and that's where we see like the fast food restaurant product placement, Burger King. And I do like is that they place it to make sure that you see it in the camera as he's throwing the garbage away. In this thing, instead of a garbage can.
Yeah, just like the Pepsi cans later on.
Is there a Pepsi cans later? Because I noticed in the prom, and I noticed them later.
Yeah, but I think in the shop they had some Pepsi.
Because I noticed, I think a Sony, I think what's it called, the Walkman ad behind them in the shop later.
Oh yeah.
I didn't thank them, right? So,
no.
Yeah.
They didn't get any money then, I think.
Okay, so anyhow, what was I? Oh yes, because when what's his name, Strickland presses like the synth, the cosmic key, that's where the his crew and they find the locations like. And also, I do like that before that he the microwave, they blew up the microwave was just something with their signal. That's a funny scene. Because they crash into Julie's house, and then it seems like he has no actually the cosmic key, so they place a truth collar on him, and he tells him like the detective Strickland took it to his friend Charlie. It's like, let us all go to the store. That's when He-Man and his crew come into the shop. Also, that's right. Before that, Julie calls the house and he picks up. He knows it's Julie, but he doesn't. What's that? Oh yeah. He doesn't say to the cop that this is Julie. Why didn't you just ask him for help? And by the way, guys, for those listening, Kai is just doing like I don't know expression.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's kind of obvious that she's not being kidnapped hostage or anything. It's like, this was the manner we think.
I mean, if they would be calling someone, I think at that point, it would be very, very difficult to explain anything.
Okay.
By that time.
Yeah, and of course, He-Man and the crew, they get inside, they find the call on him, and he tells them that where they are, that he told them, they remove, and he tells them, like, first he gets afraid of them. It's like, well, what are these guys? Like, no, these are our friends, they're here to help us. It turns out we have to go to Charlie to take the route, they're trying to find the device. And that's where I think that, before that, I forgot that Welder comes in with that mechanic car.
Oh yeah.
I think that's the other really Back to the Future reference because of that car.
Yeah, but I mean, A, how does he get the car? And B, how in the hell does he modify this car so fast?
What did he? Do you remember what he said? Because he said it doesn't run on fuel. What does it run on?
Oh.
Because I know he said he modified it's not run on fuel.
It runs on something, yeah.
Yeah. So they all leave. They get inside like the He-Man mobile, the pink He-Man mobile. They travel to. By the way, they don't call the pink He-Man, but we're just calling it like this. They travel to Charlie's workplace. That's where when they find out was it.
I think at that point you could say it's a cross promotion stuff for Mattel, because again, He-Man is a Mattel property. Yeah. And what is another Mattel property?
Is it a car something?
Barbie.
I don't know what it is, but okay. So they go.
No, I mean, could be Barbie. I don't know.
Yeah, so they get inside of so they reach them before like his skeletal and his army. They get inside, but then they start attacking them. They tell Tila to take the crew while He-Man and Man-at-Arms is gonna fight them inside the room. And while
I mean at that point you would have a full-scale invasion of Earth.
Yeah.
From an, I don't know.
I mean, he does. Second does it. This is an army invasion. He says, "I'll have to call for backup." He does say it.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to have some kind of like army response by that time. You would have to call freaking NATO for that.
I mean, they blew up a car. When they come later, the police comes like, "Where's the army?" Do you mean they didn't notice the burned up car? And
yeah.
Okay, so what was
I mean, imagine the Michael Bay version for this kind of scenes. You would have like entire fleet coming in,
drone shots,
fighter jets, big ships coming in front of the.
Yeah, but if this microwave had done this, he would have made it a 3-hour-long movie where 50% of the film is the attack in the city.
Also, you would have lots and lots of close-up shots of Courtney Cox's ass.
Yeah, that's a good one. If you're legal age, we have to wear tight shirts and ass shots. That's Michael Bay's rule.
Oh man.
Yeah. I remember when there was a report coming out that he might be producing Dora, the Explorer movie. Everyone was like, okay, how the hell is he gonna sexualize Dora? That's everyone's reaction. Okay, so what was that? I have to always keep sitting straight. Always like, oh yes, So they end up fighting them, and there's like Evelyn because remember when they crash Julie's house, she sees the photo of the parents and the article that they were dead. It's like this could come in handy. That's where we see her like she impersonates her mom. They try to make it look like Secret One's like, oh yeah, that's a villain. They're impersonating her mom. She tells her to bring up the cosmic key. She steals it from them and she hands it to Evelyn. And that's where everyone like they start fighting. And then if I'm mistaken, Skeletor he comes in, right? How does he come in? Does Evelyn contact him? She contacts him, or he tries to come in?
No, more or less, he comes in with his entire force and
his flying ship and all this disco like frisbee enemies. I know. He fights one of them and he takes one of the frisbee device and starts flying. He grabs, I think, the cosmic key from Evelyn, and then the other crew starts here, but Skeletor he catches them. He-Man tries to come to the hip screen, but what's her name? Julie, she marks him. It's like it's a trap, but Skeletor he hits her, and then He-Man falls, and then he tells him Skeletor's like, "Come with me, surrender, and I will free your friends." He does agree to surrender, and before that he also damages the cosmic key that they have. This means that they can't come back to Eternia. They also, I will admit that was they fucked up Julie's leg because later when you see like he poisoned her leg, because I was like, damn man, what the hell did he do to her leg?
Look pretty bad.
Yeah. So you saw him like Skeletor like so Skeletor he's taking away what was it the sorcerer's powers that he can take it. That's what he's doing. Was he taking Castle's or is he taking Castle Grayskull's power?
No more like he's using the power of
I think Grayskull.
sorcerers.
I think that must be the power.
Yeah, I mean he's draining her power to some extent because
we see her like she's getting like fair, like she's being zombie mummified a little bit like. So what was I?
Oldified to some extent.
Okay, so people, I remember the part was like, man, okay, he tells him like, Gwildos like I don't have the exact tune of what the location of. We find out Kevin says, "Oh, I do remember the tune." He tries to remember the song. You hear like the speaker playing the song. This is actually another funny part. It's like Tia shoots the gun instead of blow up, it just disappears.
The thing is, if you're looking at what's happening there physically, if you are standing just 1 meter behind there, Detective Strickland would have been cut off in the middle of his body. I mean, his whole upper body would have been like staying in on Earth, while his lower body would have been like transported to Eternia, and you would be dead.
We still haven't reached to this part yet because.
Okay.
Yes, because the Detective Strickland comes in with the army. His soldiers like, where's all this army battle you keep? We can't be seeing nothing. And then you see what's his name, Kevin. He's driving. He's like, that's them. Follow me, guys. That's where you see they're setting up the devices. And meanwhile, we see at Grayskull like He-Man is getting whipped, and the look that Skeletor looks at him is like, yeah, he's enjoying it. It's like he's getting aroused watching He-Man getting whipped.
He's so sweaty.
Yeah. And by the way, we're not making any gay innuendo jokes because I think people have done this a lot with He-Man.
No.
Okay, and also the movie's making not as we're not making just because it's He-Man. The movie, we saw like all the shot that they shot on when they're finally seeing the camera focuses on Dolph Lundgren. Some of the scenes in the movie is like, okay, what the hell's going on? That's where I think we see Skeletor. He turns into a Power Rangers film. He takes the power of Grayskull. Then I think as the on Earth, to see like the crew, the He-Man's friends are working to activate, and then Skeletor comes in. He starts messing up with the device. That's where everyone could that you were saying right now. The car split into have the whole building to come in. And they start attacking. He-Man frees himself.
the other thing is basically you would have this very deliberate kind of instrument that you would have been playing there, and basically what you can assume what's happening in the background is like you would be dialing in like coordinates in space time or space dimensions, something like that, and every node responds to a position in kind of dimension coordinate system that you would have. And if you would be like pressing one wrong button at the incorrect time, you would end up in a completely different environment, scenario, planet, or dimension, or whatever. And you're landing directly in the middle of Castle Grayskull.
Yeah.
How does this kind of thing work?
Nobody knows. I mean, heck, Skeletor, you've been using it better than them.
Just pure magic.
So they start fighting each other, and also we saw like this is a He-Man. He didn't say his phrase, "I have the power." And you see after he frees himself, he grabs the sword and he said, "I have the power." And well, meanwhile we see Evelyn and two of the henchmen, which were what were they? Beastman and Karg. They escape. Well, Blade, I think he fights He-Man. I think he defeats him. We don't see him. He kills him. Thereafter he starts fighting Skeletor, and when he fights Skeletor, they hit each other. Like Skeletor uses his staff and He-Man uses his sword. They create like a beam missile that I think destroys all the lights in the castle. And you read what happened with this scene, right?
No.
They didn't finish shooting the last scene. That they closed the production, and the set got destroyed, partially destroyed. And it's like, man, what are you going to do? He's like, I'm going to do this. He distorted the light everything to begin because of the sword attack. They said this is the sword that happened this, and he ended up shooting them together in the scene. Now, that was not Frank Langella, he's fighting him. That's his stunt double, he's fighting him.
As you can do with this kind of makeup.
Yeah. So they start fighting.
Because nobody cares who's underneath this mask.
Yeah. I mean, some of the EDR, because you see, like, his lips doesn't match his voice with Frank Langella when he's speaking.
Yeah.
So they start fighting inside, then he defeats them, and he pull like an Emperor Palpatine, he throws them in the pit. So after freeing the sorceress and saving the Eternia from Skeletor, you see that Detective Strickland had decided that, you know what, I'm gonna stay here. Like, I got a new wife, etc., a new position, and I'm a hero. That's better than being on Earth. Julie and Kevin decided they're gonna go back to Earth. The sorcerer said, don't worry, I'm gonna help you. They even handed him a sphere. They pass through the portal, and then they wake up actually back in time. She's actually the day that her parents were supposed to die. She goes in and she stops them by basically stealing her car keys, and she leaves outside and she sees Kevin. He's like, we can travel back in time, and then he shows her the spear. And in the spear we see Dolph Lundgren basically screaming, I have the power, for the second time. The end. Or is it?
Exactly. There's a post-credit scene.
Do you want to create the post-credit scene?
Yeah, by the time...
It's basically Skeletor coming out from a pink pool saying, I'll be back. And that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
This made me laugh. Mostly because that with all the behind the scenes problem that you're going through, and the fact they knew that this movie is gonna fail, they still believe that they're gonna make a sequel.
and the thing is, he's saying I'll be back before I'll be back is even a valid catchphrase for Arnold.
I think Terminator 1 came out before this film.
He says I'll be back in the first one, yes. But it doesn't really have the oomph that's going to be associated with I'll be back in the later movies. But holy hell.
Who would have thought the first superhero blockbuster post-credit scene went to Master of the Universe? This is the first post-credit scene in a movie. You know what would be funny? If the next action post-credit scene for the MCU after Secret War, you see what's his name? Thanos comes in from a pool of water. I'll be back.
Thanos comes up and says, I'll be back.
Because we had them like, obviously, this is something similar in Age of Ultron. I have to do it now. And he grabs the Infinity Gauntlet. Remember? Avengers of Ultron.
I'm seeing the first general release film to feature a post-credit scenes is The Silencers, released in March 1966. The scene depicts lead character Mattel, played by Dean Martin, lying shirtless on what appears to be a rotating sofa along with 10 scantily clad women. He kisses 2 women before rubbing his face and muttering, "Oh my god." During the scene, text overlays reads,
This is
"Coming
a
up
spy.
next," and
Oh, yes, I'm seeing
Mattel
it.
meets Chloe Kravitz. So it's a spy movie from 1966.
Yeah.
And of course, I haven't seen this one, but it's going to be interesting to see.
And because they had planned to do a sequel, it's like, hey, we're gonna do a sequel. Then Dolph Lundgren was like, hell no, I didn't like working in this movie. Go do something else. They were planning on doing like a low budget, I think, direct to video sequel. And it's like, man, because I think they lost the right. Mattel took the rights back from Canon, and then they took all the ideas they had to make the movie Cyborg with Jean-Claude Van Damme. If you remember this film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that was actually Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
Do you want us to give our final thought or rating, or do you want to say something before that?
No, the only thing that I always be saying, like, for several years they have been rumors about an eventual Masters of the Universe.
Oh, yes, it's Netflix now, because it used to be at Son. There used to be so many people like who had the rights. John Woo apparently was gonna do a movie with apparently it's gonna be a very campy one. It was not liked. And then do you know Christian Harloff, right? From Schmoes.
Yeah.
He actually used to work, for Joel Silver and Warner Bros. He went to him, it's like, hey, let's make a He-Man movie. Because I think they would be said no, but he told him you can shop the script somewhere else. So they went, I think, to another executive, and they told him, and then they went to too many people, and then they had a hard time finding a script and the deals up, because he went, but so in the end they dropped down the movie because Mattel couldn't come in an agreement. Even the studio didn't come in an agreement. So they ended up, and now what happens years later, Sony got the rights to the film, and they had McG one, Tom, the guy who did, what was it, Charlie's Angel movie, then David is Good, the guy who did the Dark Knight movie with Christopher Nolan, to come in. So many people coming, leaving and going, and now, what was it, the Knee Brothers, the people who did The Lost City, they're now attached to direct the film, and they even had Noah Centineo. He's the guy from Joey's favorite movie, All the Boys I Love, the lead. You know him, right? He's going to be Atom Smasher in Black Adam. He was cast as him, and then he dropped out, and now Netflix got the rights of the film from Sony, and now it's going to be a Netflix movie right now, for what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I'm seeing that too.
Yeah, and Kevin Smith talked about how the fact they hit Ted Sarandos, I think the hit of Netflix, is a huge diehard He-Man fan. He's been very protective and supportive, like when he's talking about how he's been like. So basically, I think he's now in good hands, especially after seeing Revelation.
I think that is a very good sign. If you really have creative people on the back end that really care about the IP and the properties and the characters and the lore. I think this is a very good sign that we could eventually get. Even right now, if you would be seeing, like, again, if you look at Thor Ragnarok and Thor Love and Thunder, it's basically currently I'm looking at those movies like Masters of the Universe movies done right. Even though it's not really like Prince Adam and stuff. Even though Thor is kind of a prince, but
he used to be a king, but now he no longer is a king.
Right now he's a king, yeah, but eventually he came up from being a prince there, and so you see that those kinds of those movies actually do work, and I'm looking forward actually to what Netflix is going to.
Well, I think that's I heard. I think next year they're gonna start shooting the film, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe expect by 2024 the film to come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
good.
because they already casted an
Both.
up and comer actor. His name is Kyle Allen as He-Man. I mean, you can Google his
Yeah.
photo if you guys want to see how he looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I've seen his name pop up there.
he was in West Side Story. I think he played supporting as one of the members of the Jets, but it's not like one of the main player characters in the film.
Yeah. Yeah, and if he's going to beef up, then yeah. I think that the interesting stuff will be how they're going to go into the Prince Adam He-Man dynamic there. That's going to be very interesting how
Yeah.
they're going to approach those
And I'm also
films, because
I'm glad it's not Sony who's doing it, because you saw the Uncharted movie, right? What did you thought of it?
yes, I've seen it 2 weeks ago. It came out here on digital, and it was an okay movie. I wouldn't say it's like one of the best movies ever. It has some
So it's-
heart.
So it's not a 4 out of 5
Um,
like Greg Miller says it is, right?
It is a 3 out of 5, definitely.
Yeah.
For even if you would be saying like,
I mean, Greg
some
is
of
known
the
for saying
scenes-
some controversial stuff. So
Yeah, exactly. But for me, it was a solid 3 out of 5. It, I mean, Marky Mark, or basically at that point, Mark Wahlberg is playing Mark Wahlberg.
it's
In
basically a
very
studio
Mark
movie.
Wahlberg
That's what
kind
you're
of way.
saying. Because it's a predictable studio movie. That's what you're saying. So
No. I'm talking Mark Wahlberg.
I'm not talking
is
about the
playing Mark Wahlberg.
That's what I'm
and
saying, because
not about Sully.
the
Yeah,
movie
it's
it says
by
that
the numbers.
it's by number studio movies, because that's why I'm glad they're not
Yeah.
doing the He-Man movie long, because this could be another thing, because Sony didn't butcher the franchise as long as, because the last time, because
Exactly.
they don't have someone creative, because now we got Spider-Verse, they had Phil Lord and Miller overseeing it. Part of me, I feel like the animation is doing well, because the studios looked down at the animation. You saw that Lord and Miller, they wrote an article after the Oscar thing, because they were poking fun, like, oh, it's just for kids. They wrote an article about how the studio execs will look down at the animation directors, so man, you guys are not making real film. And
Yeah.
and the Spider-Man movies, because they got Feige, over, because they're overseeing it. Their Venom movie, well, you should, the last thing you said, the better. Oh, that's right, you saw Morbius. Because the last time
Exactly.
I had, Andy and I, because after we finished the show, I was checking CNN News. I saw your Instagram story, and I told Andy, it's like, oh God, look what Kai is doing. And he said, I told him, what do you do? It's like, check his Instagram story. And it's like, oh, come on, Kai.
Yeah.
Do you
I
want?
watched Morbius.
Can you give us a quick thoughts? And this way, I'll tell Andy that you talked about it when I post the episode live.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll ask you this:
Morbius.
Masters of Universe or Morbius?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. In a direct comparison between Masters of the Universe,
I mean, which
and
one would you prefer
Morbius.
to watch? That's what I meant.
Masters of the Universe.
Over Morbius?
Yes.
Okay.
At
Even
that
Batman,
point,
Batman, Robin, or Morbius? That's a good question, also.
Oh, Batman or Robin over Morbius. I would also go for Batman and Robin.
Wow. When when Kai ends up choosing, Batman, Robin over Morbius, that's something.
No, I'm. Let's just say it like that. I don't think Morbius is a bad movie.
Okay.
I think Morbius is a boring movie.
Okay.
That's not really like exciting and stuff like that. That has some kind of fun action movie that you can see and make fun of in a really bad kind of way. So it's bad in a good way. It's just like you see that this movie, for some reason, had to be trimmed down and lacks lots of scenes.
That's what I heard. It's like there's
And,
scenes that have been edited out from the film.
I think at that point it's basically like the the whole MCU Sony schedule structure that came into effect over there. And I think if you would have Morbius come out before Spider-Man, I think if they put in some of those cameo scenes in there, it would have been like having a bigger oomph than what you would end up in eventually in the final movie. Because if you're looking at a post-credit scene, and this is basically the worst performance I've seen Michael Keaton give ever. And
even himself
at
comes
that
in, he
point-
said, I don't watch any of this DC or Marvel movies, and I don't know, and he's still confused by the multiverse and etc. He came out publicly
yeah,
said it.
it's okay. It's okay. But the performance that he gives there is basically like, I don't care anymore what I'm doing here, and I have no idea what to do here, and I'm just saying the line, and that's it.
Yeah.
Just give me the money. I'm just saying the line.
Alright, so I think now we
it's
should do like final
sad.
thoughts and scoring us. So Kai, do you want to begin?
I have to say, I think this movie. So we are having this redeemable, unredeemable scale, right?
And also there's a minor redemption in case you're in the middle of the road.
Oh, do we have this as well?
That's in case you're interested. If you're in the middle, you don't know where to give.
Let's just say like that. I think as a movie experience, this definitely unredeemable. However, it's basically like the beginning of lots of schlock things that you would have in the 80s and 90s. So if you see some performers, some actors hamming it up, then this thing is quite well. Also, if you're seeing some of the first acting experiences of someone like Courtney Cox, Robert Duncan McNeil, or even Dolph Lundgren, if you're having a look at his IMDb, or actually what he has been doing before. Yeah, it's interesting to see what kinds of things, but otherwise, it's a pretty standard canon film. That's the thing, and it's one of those canon movies that broke the back of canon.
Okay.
And for that, I think for historical reasons, maybe there is some kind of redemption there, because it's like hamming it up to the extreme, but otherwise, it's pretty unredeemable.
Yeah. As for me, this is actually one of the most stupidest thing I've ever seen. Yeah. And you're right, I would rather watch Batman or Robin over this. That's saying a lot.
That's saying a lot, yeah.
Yeah. Man, talking about these people like who really didn't know what they're doing. The fact that they were just given the toys, they told them just do whatever you want. That was before the TV show got made. And then
That's
the studios like,
That's
man,
the-
we want to jump in, make something big, and then they didn't have the money and resources to do it. They ran out of, and you still have to think how cheap it looks.
yeah. That's the thing with canon at the very end, because they had introduced lots and lots of canon mini franchises that they have, like action based, Chuck Norris based, Michael Dudikoff based, and whatever, and they are going to be playing in the big leagues right now.
Yeah.
And they're getting the licenses for Masters of the Universe, and they're getting the freaking Superman license.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they have basically not ended their own eventually their own kind of own business model there, but they also killed franchises there. Afterwards, Superman was dead for the next like 20 years until
Superman Returns
came out. Also, Masters of the Universe is dead until now as a movie franchise.
Yeah.
And has been
I mean, we still wait
difficult
and see
to
what's
reboot.
going to happen with Netflix and them doing.
Again, yeah, but again, we've talked about it a couple of minutes ago, and we are looking forward to it. Um, but I think those the things that they did once they got the big licenses, big movie franchises over there, um, it's a bad sign how not to run franchises. It's
Basically, most
right
of the
now I
problems
would
about
have to
the
say,
failure of Superman and this one, Master of the Universe, they ran out of money and budget. That's why it affected the film. Because Superman,
yeah, but
they had a concept idea to go into, because Christopher Reeve was heavily involved. He said, "I want to do what Leonard Nimoy did with Star Trek 4, but this time I want to talk about the nuclear stuff." And then we all saw how that movie turned out to be.
yeah, and let's just say it like that. The special effects that they had, and it is a special effects heavy movie. But if you're having Superman fly over Earth, being
Don't reuse the
repeated
same shot.
5 times throughout the movie,
They use it 5
um,
times? We don't know. It
five,
zooms in.
yeah, multiple times by the time. It could be even more than 5. But it's bad. I mean, it's really bad looking for you as a movie. But it's also looking bad for the franchise that you bought in. And again,
Is it
they
worse
had
than
this kind of
Supergirl?
I haven't rewatched both of them.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to compare those things, to be sure. But
Okay, so go ahead,
let's just say it
continue
like
what you were
that.
saying.
I mean, it should be a warning shot for Sony, because they're very, very close right now with their Spider-Man cinematic. No, their Sony
Marvel Cinematic
universe of
Universe.
Spider-Man
Spoomic,
of
something like.
Spider-Man characters, or something like that. Because they are having a similar model there. You're having big tentpole movies here and there that are trying to finance those kinds of schlocks. And you sometimes have the feeling they're just like making those movies just that they can make the proper Spider-Man movies. Like, you're having Morbius, you're having the Craven the Hunter movie, the Arachnid movie that they wanted to do.
They're doing
With
El
Madame X.
Muerto, like the
Madame X.
Rustler
El
movie.
Muerto. Why the fuck are they doing an El Muerto
They're
movie?
doing it because they
I
have
have
someone, one of the biggest celebrities in the world, with Bad Bunny. Just like, hey, we have him. Let's make a movie with him as the lead.
Yeah, but this character in Spider-Man lore is a F character. I don't know. Very, very behind. I don't know. It's
People like, what? They didn't understand. It's gonna be a joke. And then you also got Craven. It's like, oh, he's an animal lover and protector of nature.
yeah. I mean, I could see that it somehow would work if you would like do a movie just as a preparation for an eventual Sinister Six movie, as they would have been planning for the last 20 years or so. But as a standalone something,
You also got Madam Web also.
yeah, and
Instead
they
of
are
an old
shooting this
woman, they
right now.
got a young hot actress with Don Johnson's
They're
daughter.
shooting. The thing is, right now with this movie, they're shooting it right now, and they're basically the New York scenes that they are doing are set in the early 2000s.
Really?
And yes, they are redecorating and parts of New York to like early Destiny Child songs or Beyonce songs and stuff like that. And they're having old taxis from the 2000s. And I'm finding it very interesting.
Are they trying to
Let's say
bring
it like
Tobey
that.
Maguire back?
I could think of a situation where you end up in a Forrest Gump situation. where you have like parts of the original Spider-Man movie running in the background, and then Dakota Johnson being introduced in some kind of like peeking in some scenes there kind of way.
Yeah.
But that would be interesting if
Yeah.
they would be going in such a route. But otherwise, I have no idea what they're
Yeah.
planning. It's just like a similar movie, similar strategy as in Canon, where they basically trying to plan the production of future movies based on the income of the movies that they've producing before, and once they have like a real stinker, then it's going to be bad for Sony as a movie production studio, I think.
Mm.
And yeah.
Do you know what would be funny if Il Mayorta is the best one out of all the more Sony?
That would be amazing if it would be this kind of universe in the multiverse, where El Muerto
where
becomes
the lowest
the top.
known Marvel Super Spider-Man villain is the best movie.
That would be quite, or even would win an Oscar or something like that.
I mean, they give Suicide Squad an Oscar. I mean, anything can happen.
I mean, if they are doing a Joker-like thing for El Muerto, that would be. I don't know
I
how
mean,
this
apparently,
would
according
work.
to Jamie Foxx, they're doing the same thing with Spawn. Who's like, it's going to be something original like Joker.
Let's see it.
Yeah.
Let's see about that.
And also, in case I was wondering, I'm giving a redeemable score, and I think we should end it now because we stayed out for so long. And
Yeah.
it's one way to end the show talking about the crap that Sony is making with their Marvel movies. So thanks, Kai, for joining me. And where can people find you?
You can find me at othercranite _ in between those two names on Twitter. And if you are able to speak German, or if you have been known German for quite some time, there are also some other podcasts that I'm doing. One is a Star Trek based podcast. It's called Offene Ruffrequenzen, or open hailing frequencies, obviously for Star Trek. Yeah, you can hear something about rambling me over Star Trek Picard season 2, and yeah.
You can find me on Twitter at YAZMan300. For some reason, Twitter took my old username down. You can find the YAZ300 Pro on Instagram, Twitter for all the information about the podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify, whatever podcast service you can. Rate it, spread the word. And before I go, just a final reminder of housekeeping. Just subscribe to my YouTube channel so I can reach the 1 million subscribers so I can make Joe and Andy watch Adventures of a Chill, and the whole time they're gonna be mad at me when they review it. So thank you guys for listening and watching or wherever you are. I will see you guys on the next episode. Bye.
Okay, live long and prosper.